Welcome back to my YouTube channel. As we continue with our story, just a continuation of where we stopped about quitting the relationship. Let's start there. Reason, uh, the reasons why I quit the relationship. To start with, right now, those people who are in this generation are a bit lucky because you can listen to a podcast or watch the videos of relationship coach, and most of them are going to talk about the red flags that are there in those relationships, things that should not keep you continuing with the relationship if you're wise. And anybody who was explaining to me about those red flags, but I figured them out myself because the person I was dating used to work. He had his business he was working on, but he always came to me most of the times, because every time I saw him, I knew that he's not just coming to visit me, but he's coming for money. So when you sit down and start talking about how are you doing, how is your job, so I'm going to tell him that my job is good, I got a promotion or I got a salary increment, and then he's going to say that the business is so bad, like I need some money to boost my business. There's some new stock that has come in town, and I need to have that so that I sustain my customers. And who am I? Back then, I used to give the money, but it came to a point where it was extreme, and I could no longer afford the money that he needed. But it doesn't mean that I didn't have the money. I had the money, but remember, I was talking about financial planning. I had to plan for everything that I'm working on. I didn't work like I didn't do things just like that. I couldn't do that. So it came to a point where I told him, all the money that I've given you, I was not giving you for free. I was lending the money to you. So until you return the money, I don't have any other thing to offer. So that also triggered the relationship to end because I couldn't continue with such a person. I needed a person who is independent because I'm also working on my independence so that we can help each other. And again, I needed a person who was focused on whatever he wants to do in life so that at least we can rhyme or match so that we can step or we can go to the next step. Those are some of the things that, and so many other the things that are actually there in the relationship, like when you need that person to be there for you, he's not there, but when he has a problem he rushes to you, so such things. So those are some of the things or the red flags that I saw that I couldn't work with, and that is what made me quit the relationship. So let's continue with this interesting story of ours, because after quitting, I just noticed that I was pregnant. So, what was I supposed to do with that? I continue with my life. I really talked to myself, and like the way you usually talk to yourself in the mirror in the morning. And one morning I woke up and I told myself, this is a journey that you have already started, and nature has already welcomed you to motherhood, and you are alone. You have to do this. There is no way shortcut. There's nothing you can do. And as long as you have the basics, like I was telling myself, like I have a job. I don't think there was something that I couldn't do. So I figured myself alone. And that is what I decided to work with. So I am an introvert. So at that time, I used to stay in the house. I used to read a lot of novels, and I think this is the time that I read more than 50 novels. There were so many, so many. So I had an access to a library, a school library. I also had an access to a local library that is out there. I had a library card. So I would go and get some books from there. I read them and then I return them. I also had a friend of mine who was selling books and novels, so I also accessed most of the novels from there. I read a lot of books back then because that is what I was using to do when it was my free time. Then Here comes now my budget about planning. I have a new jet that is arriving. I have my own stuff that I need to take care of. That is my own bills. My bills are still uh, there, they're not gone. So I have to pay them. And I also have other things that I need to do, like those projects that were there. So I couldn't work with loans. I was not for that. So I decided to find for something different that I could do. And because of my line of work, I was a teacher. So I decided to look for a candidate class that I would take for tuition every day, and when we close the school I would do the tuition full time. So that is what I did. So I used to get out of work at 4 or 5 if I'm on duty. So from there I used to go for tuition. I would go to my house, stay for around 1 hour. At 7 I would go for tuition, and I would come back home at 9. That is what I was doing, because I realized that if I don't I realized that if I don't find so I noticed that if I don't sort or get some extra income from what I'm getting, then my budget would be so tight. So I decided to find for that side hustle, which was well paying. By the way, those parents really used to pay me well, well. So because I had a candidate class, so they were paying me well, and I would use that to do my baby shopping. And I really, being a first time mom, I really overshopped. I overshopped, to be sincere. I shopped for everything and anything that would come across my mind, or anything that I would hear a mother talking about. So, uh, because I did not know about motherhood, my mother was a bit far away from me where I was living. So, and again, I was alone in this. So, I decided to keep it secret. I never told anybody about it. So I stayed like that. I thought that when you have finances, that is all you need. Another big thing that I never knew is where I was working, we were given health insurance, but it was not working. So literally, I can't say that I had a health insurance. So that is one thing that I never really knew about. But since I had some money, I had saved some money for the same, I thought that I was okay. I'm going to share about my health insurance journey and how it has really worked out for me later in the story, because this story is so long. So I'm going to share about that. So I didn't have a health insurance, and I had a lot of friends who were, I felt like they were more than family. So I never had I didn't see any need of disturbing my mom to come and stay with me just because I'm pregnant. I didn't see any need of that. I had friends who were like mothers to me, and all these friends of mine that I talked about the last video, they were more older than I was. In fact, I was the youngest. I looked like their daughter, so I felt so comfortable with that. I had friends where I was living, the same plot that I was living, they were like sisters to me, because some were younger and we were sharing a lot of stories. So I felt like I was home. That is, I felt so comfortable, like I was home. And being a grown up, you just need to grow up. Like nature makes you grow up just like that. So the only thing that I didn't love about that season is the motherhood stories that people usually used to tell you, especially, or they tell people, because up to date there are those people who are going to find a first time mom who is pregnant, and then they start telling you about the labor stories. When you go to the hospitals, see, you'll get what, you will be mistreated, you are going to I didn't love that, because that does not encourage a person. So if you've ever done that, or if you do that to people, it's not good. That is not good. Literally, you should encourage that person. and at least give advice, because they are good hospitals. I don't deny there are some that are bad, but there are good hospitals and good places where they can attend to a person, um, or they can give special care, especially to first time moms. So that is motherhood stories. But there are those people who used to encourage a person. There's a friend of mine who usually used to tell me that you are now going to get to another stage where you're going to be called a mom. And being called a mom is so interesting, because even if you get married, or even if you have a partner, and maybe you're not in terms with that person, when that child comes and calls you mom, it gives you hope. It gives you a good feeling of feeling that you are a mother to a person. It makes you more responsible than you are. So if you're not so responsible, there's somebody, or there's a human being, a small human being that is going to depend on you for the rest of their life. So these are some of the things that we should be telling people. Get out there, inspire a person. You can make sure you talk or you tell good stories to people before the day ends. Encourage that person, because you don't know what that person is going through. And that is why you get some people saying that if you have not if you are not in my shoe, or if you have not gotten into my shoe, you cannot be able to tell me anything, or you cannot fit or get the situation that that person is going through. So I didn't have much going on with me back then, but I really felt like those friendships were so important, because I worked almost until the last day. I had my clinic book, and the delivery date was near, like it was 2 days to come. So I went and got my leave, and I went home and waited for those 2 days. Unfortunately, I did not go into labor. I stayed for an extension of 1 week, and because of talking to people, uh, a friend of mine told me you should go to the hospital and maybe they should check what is wrong with you. So I went to the hospital, and I was recommended to go for a scan. I went for that scan, and it gave out a different date of delivery. And because they noticed that I was past date, they asked me that I will not go home. I will stay in the hospital, and they should do an insertion. So this is where the river story starts. And I'm going to finish the story here. Let's see each other in the next episode, where we are going to talk about labor and delivery story in the next episode. Thank you so much for watching my videos. See you when you see me in my next video, and make sure you subscribe to this channel. Bye.